has already begun to slow. 4 quiet places are waiting in a single line. Nothing will rush you from one to the next. The hours can blur without effort. This is one long stretch of calm. The spaces will change, but the pace will not. And the night will keep carrying you forward. At the edge of the shelter, a park map stands under glass. The trails are printed in thin lines. A red dot marks the overlook. No finger follows the route. No new note is pinned there. The glass keeps one faint reflection of the lamp. The lamp itself hangs from a black bracket. Its metal cap is dull with weather. The bulb glows low and steady. The circle of light falls across wet concrete. It reaches a bench. It reaches the lower rail. It stops there. Beyond that line, the overlook returns to dark. A row of binocular viewers stands along the rail. Their bodies are silver and cold. Each eyepiece cap stays shut. No coin turns in a slot. No face leans close. The viewers keep their aim at the mountain. The mountain is not fully visible at once. Cloud and moonlight divide it. A snow slope appears, then a darker shoulder, then the broad white line of the upper face. The summit remains inside higher cloud. It does not need to clear. The shape below is enough. At the near post, a warning sign is bolted to the rail. Cliff edge. Stay behind rail. The white letters show sharply in the lamp. No boot crosses the painted line on the ground. No hand rests on the chain beyond it. The overlook keeps its own boundary. A log bench faces the mountain. Its seat is dry near the wall. The outer edge is dark with dew. One carved initial shows near the right arm. The cut is old and pale. It stays there without asking to be read. At the shelter wall, a brochure box holds folded park maps. The top map has slipped forward a little. A rain-dark thumbprint marks one corner. No map is taken. The stack keeps its shape. The box door stays closed. A metal trash can stands near the entrance path. Its lid reflects the lamp in a bent yellow oval. The oval shakes once when a moth taps the glass. Then the moth is gone. The lid turns dull again. The path remains empty. At the far side of the shelter, a donation tube is fixed to a post. The slot is narrow and black. A small sign thanks visitors for trail support. No envelope touches the slot tonight. No paper edge waits there. Only the sign and the post remain in the light. Below the overlook, the forest drops in dark layers. Fir tops hold the moon in broken silver lines. Nothing moves among them. A little wind reaches the needles once. One soft pass. Then the trees return to stillness. From somewhere lower on the slope, a creak can be heard. hangs a thin, cold thread behind the night. It does not come closer. It stays below the road. The overlook lets it remain there. Near the main post, a bell-shaped metal cap covers an emergency phone box. The lid is latched. The red label beneath it remains untested. A small spider web has caught to one hinge. Its threads hold one drop of dew. The drop remains bright for a second. Then it turns gray again. At the roofline, the last board of the shelter shows a dark knot in the grain. Moonlight reaches the knot once. Then cloud takes that line away. The shelter does not answer the change. The lamp stays on. The map stays flat. The bench stays empty. A narrow strip of road can be seen through the pines below. It is pale with old frost. No headlights pass between the trunks. The parking pullout is empty. White lines show on the pavement. A dusting of grit sits near the curb. At the entrance sign, the park emblem looks darker than the post around it. The paint has weathered at the edges. The board still stands square. Nothing begins here. Nothing arrives late. The overlook keeps its cold quiet beside Mount Rainier. The lamp remains the warmest thing in sight. The rail remains still. The mountain holds the rest. Near the bench, a small coin-operated scope points over the drop. Its body is cold and matte. The eyepiece cap remains closed. No quarter turns in the slot. No hand steadies the barrel. The scope keeps its long, patient aim. A wooden brochure table stands under the side window. Snow safety cards fill one rack. Avalanche updates sit in another. The cards remain square in their rows. One corner curls on the top sheet. Nothing smooths it down. At the threshold, a rubber mat holds scattered cinders. The black grains sit in the grooves. No boot disturbs them. A small plaque fixed to the beam names the overlook. The brass has gone dark at the corners. The letters remain easy to read. Far up the mountain, one cloud edge thins. A brighter strip of snow appears. Past the lamp, the overlook wall turns toward the small west room. The door is closed. A square of light shows under it. The room beyond is the old ranger station for this site. Maps are kept there. Weather reports are checked there. Tonight it stays shut. A window beside the door looks into the room. A desk lamp is on. Its shade turns the papers below it amber. One map lies open across the desk. Contour lines circle the crater. A pencil rests across the lower corner. No hand reaches for it. No fresh mark is added. The lamp keeps the page in place. Above the desk, a pegboard holds field tools. A flashlight hangs by its loop. A radio charger glows with one small green point. The radio itself is missing from the dock. It may be on another desk. The empty space remains clean and exact. At the wall below the window, a long bench holds folded snow gaiters. A thermos sits beside them. Its lid is closed. One pair of gaiters is strapped together. The other pair lies looser. The buckles catch the lamp and then go dark. Along the outer rail, the overlook narrows. Posts stand closer together here. The drop beyond them feels deeper. A viewing plaque is bolted to the top board. Glacier Peak, Tatoosh Range, Paradise Valley. The names are stamped in small capitals. No finger moves across them. No beam from a phone light reaches the metal. The plaque keeps its cold shine. At the far corner, a windbreak wall reaches shoulder height. Snow has gathered at its base. The drift climbs partway up the boards. The upper edge remains bare. Moonlight holds there in a thin line. Nothing falls from it. Below the wall, a low storage chest sits against the siding. Its lid is shut. A brass latch keeps the front closed. A sticker on the lid reads, "Trail Files." The sticker has begun to peel at one corner. The corner does not lift farther. On the ground near the chest, a broom of bundled twigs leans in a bucket. The handle is worn smooth at the grip. The twigs flare outward in a neat fan. Beside the broom, a scoop for gravel hangs from a hook. The scoop is empty. Its edge stays clean. From the woods below, no animal sound rises. No branch cracks. No snow slides from the trees. The mountain keeps the wider silence. The overlook keeps the nearer one. At the end of the rail, another coin viewer faces the summit. The metal is colder here. A skin of frost touches the base. The eyepiece cap is still on. A thin chain holds it in place. The chain hangs without sway. Near the viewer, a sign reminds visitors to remain on paved surfaces. The white border is bright in the lamp. The post stands square. One bolt in the post has gone orange at the edge. The rust has not spread far. It makes a small, rough ring around the metal. At the service room window, a kettle sits on a hot plate that is switched off. The cord is wound into a short loop. No steam touches the glass. A spiral notebook lies beside it. Tonight's weather summary fills half a page. Wind low. Visibility fair. Surface frozen. The last line is short. Road quiet after midnight. No line follows it. At the far side of the overlook, a wooden box holds emergency blankets. The lid is stamped in red. The paint is a little worn. The latch remains set. Below the box, the concrete changes color where old meltwater dried. A wide, pale shape stretches toward the wall. It stops at a seam and disappears. The shelter roof gives one small, settling tick, one sound. Then the same light and stillness remain. Nothing begins in the west room. Nothing begins at the rail. The overlook keeps its quiet order above the sleeping mountain. Far down the slope, one snow pole reflects a trace of moonlight. Then cloud takes it away. The road remains hidden among the pines. The lamp near the door stays on. The maps stay flat. The frost stays at the base of the viewer. The whole place holds together in short, calm pieces. Wood, metal, snow, height, the mountain above all of it. A pair of folding stools rests below the bench. Their canvas seats are striped green and white. The strap stays snapped. At the threshold, a rubber mat holds scattered cinders. Black grains sit in the grooves. No boot crosses them tonight. A wooden donation box stands near the wall map. Its slot is narrow. The surface is worn smooth by old hands. No envelope reaches the slot. No coin touches the lid. The box keeps its patient stillness. Along the ceiling beam, a string of old hooks remains empty. They once held lanterns in storm weather. Shadows stay in line. Outside the west rail, the forest falls away in dark layers. One opening between the firs shows a little snowfield below. The white surface keeps a strip of moon. A cloud edge passes over it. The white strip fades. Then the opening returns to black. Near the post, a paper cup lies upside down on the rail. Its rim is soft from damp. No wind lifts it. The overlook lets it stay. That is part of the night here. A pale gray begins behind the mountain. The overlook does not brighten at once. The lamp beside the map still holds the warmer light. The rail remains cold under it. The wet concrete stays darker than the steps. The shelter keeps the same quiet shape. Mount Rainier shows more of itself now. The lower snowfields separate from the trees. The upper cone remains in cloud. One ridgeline appears more clearly. Then the cloud settles lower again. Nothing changes beyond that. At the main post, the warning sign looks flatter in the gray. Cliff edge remains sharp in white letters. The chain beyond it still hangs untouched. No new track crosses the painted line. No glove has been left on the rail. The overlook remains closed to action. The rocking chairs near the wall keep their places. One pale scratch on the nearest arm shows more clearly. The folded blanket stays square across the second chair. A little damp has gathered along the outer slat of the bench. The dry center is narrower now. No one comes to take the seat. The lamp itself keeps its low, steady glow. Its metal cap is dull with old weather. One moth cloth mark remains on the glass from warmer months. The park map under glass shows more of the fine printed roads. The red dot at the overlook remains fixed. No finger follows the rim trail. At the side table, the ashtray reflects less gold now. Morning has taken some warmth from the light. The glass still holds the shape of the shelter above it. At the entrance path, the trash can lid is gray instead of yellow. Its bent oval reflection has gone flat. The path below it remains empty. Through the pines, the road is easier to see. It curves past one pale drift and disappears again. No headlights move between the trunks. The parking pullout keeps its white lines and loose grit. Nothing rolls in. Nothing backs out. The hour remains unclaimed. Below the shelter, the forest stays in deep layers. One strip of creek can be heard again. Thin, cold, far below the road. The sound does not widen. It stays behind the trees. The overlook lets it remain there. At the far railing, the mounted viewer keeps its aim over the lake. The eyepiece cap is still on. A thin line of frost remains near the base. No quarter enters the slot. No hand turns the barrel. The metal keeps its own stillness. At the west room window, the desk lamp remains on. The map across the desk still lies open. The pencil keeps its place at the lower edge. Above it, the pegboard is clearer now. The flashlight hangs straight. The empty radio dock remains exact and dark. The kettle on the hot plate stays cold. No steam has touched the pane. The notebook beside it keeps the same last line. Road quiet after midnight. That line remains the last line. No fresh note follows. Along the outer wall, the windbreak boards take more gray and less moon. Snow remains banked at their base. The drift line has not moved. The storage chest below them stays shut. Trail flags is still readable on the lid. The peeling sticker corner stays where it was. Near the lower stair, the chain with the closed at night sign remains in place. Needles cover the first step below it. No early walker waits there. The twig broom in the bucket remains upright. The gravel scoop stays empty. The metal edge keeps its clean curve. At the east wing, the guest journal still lies open. The earlier line about snow on the mountain remains the last line. The pencil stays tucked in the spine. The thermos beside it remains shut. No steam ever rose from it in this cold air. The brushed steel now looks almost gray. Along the rail, the snow gauge keeps the same red mark. Yesterday's reading still hangs beneath it. No new number has been written. The bench in the east wing still faces the mountain. The bowed slat in the center remains slight. The boot prints below it still end in white dust. nothing carries them farther. Nothing adds a second set. The boards beyond remain clean. Near the last room, the curtain left open a little has not shifted. Inside, the room remains dim. A glass pitcher on the night table catches a pale line. No latch clicks. No curtain ring slides. The guest wing stays in its own small sleep. Snow gathers along the window ledge of the inn. The lobby lamps are still on. The geyser fields sleep beyond the dark glass. No guest is coming in from the road. The air above the lake is clean and still. Pine shadows hold along the slope. The lodge keeps a small band of warmth at its doors. A row of wooden rocking chairs faces the lake. Each chair is empty. None of them moves. The nearest chair has one pale scratch on its arm. The mark runs with the grain. It catches light, then fades. A folded wool blanket rests over the back of another chair. Its dark stripes stay flat. No corner slips free. Between two chairs, a small round table stands on iron legs. A glass ashtray sits in the center. It is clean now. The ashtray reflects the lodge light in a weak square. The reflection does not hold for long. It breaks across the glass and goes soft. The veranda railing runs in a long line above the drop. Its top rail is cold and smooth. White paint has worn thin at the corners. At one post, a brass room bell hangs from a bracket. It does not ring. The clapper stays still inside the cup. The bell rope has been tied back with a careful loop. Its fibers are rough near the knot. The knot does not loosen. Beyond the railing, the crater opens into black distance. The lake keeps no detail at first. Only a broad, dark shape remains. Then a thin stripe of moonlight reaches the surface. It lies there without moving far. The water gives back only that one line. The far rim is darker than the sky above it. Small drifts of late snow rest in the hollows. No wind lifts from them. Wizard Island is only a low shape from here. Its slope rises from the center darkness. The outline stays quiet and complete. At the lodge wall, 2 lanterns burn on either side of the doors. Their glass is slightly fogged from age. The light remains warm and low. A notice board hangs near the entrance. Tomorrow's sunrise hour is written there in chalk. The number waits without urgency. Below it, a map of the rim trail sits under clear plastic. The paper corners remain flat. No finger traces the route. The door handles are brass and softly worn. No latch clicks from inside. The lobby beyond stays dim. Through the panes, a stone fireplace can be seen at a distance. The fire is out. A glow from table lamps reaches the carpet and stops. Near the threshold, a mat holds old snow dust from boots. The dust has dried to pale marks. Nothing disturbs them. At the far end of the veranda, a bench swing hangs from 2 chains. The seat straight. One chain gives a faint, cold shine where the moon finds it. That line is enough. The rest stays dark. A planter box rests below the window beside the swing. Summer flowers are gone now. Only bare stems remain in the soil. The stems make thin shapes against the siding. They do not bend. The night leaves them alone. From somewhere under the lodge, a heater hum rises through the boards. It is steady. It never asks for notice. A vent near the doorway sends out a slow ribbon of warmth. It reaches the nearest chair leg. The air changes nothing there. At the base of one post, a tin cup catches a drop from the roof seam. One drop falls. Then the cup is quiet again. Nothing follows it. The bell does not sound. The swing does not move. A pair of binoculars rests on the window ledge inside the glass. The strap lies in a soft curve. No hand reaches from the lobby. Next to them, a guidebook about crater geology stands upright. Its spine is faded blue. The title is still clear. A clock above the inner desk can be seen through the doors. Its hands move without sound. No one comes to check them. Along the floorboards, narrow seams show dark between the planks. The wood has held many winters. It keeps the same lines. One board near the center has a knot the size of a coin. Moonlight touches it once. Then the shade covers it again. At the far railing, a mounted viewing scope points over the lake. Its metal body is cold and silver. The eyepiece cap remains closed. No coin has been turned in it. No face leans close. It waits above the sleeping water. The old lodge keeps this hour without effort. Warm doors, empty chairs, the lake below holding its dark line. Nothing begins. Nothing calls from the rim. The veranda stays open to the cold and stillness above Crater Lake. Above the chairs, the roof holds a line of exposed beams. Each beam ends in a rounded cut. The shadows between them stay deep. A small enamel sign beside the door reads, "Quiet Hours." The letters are blue. The corners are chipped. Near the swing, a stack of folded camp stools rests against the wall. Their canvas seats are striped green and cream. No strap has come loose. A guest register box stands on shelf by the entrance. Inside it, blank postcards show the lake in sunlight. No card has been taken. Far below, no boat light crosses the water. No wake reaches the moon stripe. Past the entrance doors, the veranda turns toward the east wing. The boards keep the same long grain. The railing follows the curve of the rim. The lodge wall is built from thick, peeled logs. Moonlight reaches the rounded edges. The spaces between them stay dark. Each guest room along this side has one window and one door. The curtains are drawn in most of them. A few lamps remain on inside. One window shows a writing desk with a shaded lamp. A folded newspaper rests there. No chair is pulled back from the desk. Another window shows the corner of a brass bed. A quilt lies lie smooth across it. No suitcase stands open on the floor. At one doorway, a pair of snow cleats sits on a rubber tray. The metal teeth look dull in the light. The straps stay buckled. Beside the tray, a hiking pole leans in the corner. Its wrist loop hangs free. The tip rests on the plank seam. Between the guest doors, narrow tables stand against the wall. Each one holds a lamp with a parchment shade. Each one keeps a small pool of gold. On the first table, a stack of trail brochures sits in a fan. Rim Drive, Discovery Point, Watchman Overlook. No brochure has been taken from the top. The corners stay aligned. The wood below them stays bare. On the next table, a guest journal lies open. A note from earlier praises the snow on the lake. The ink has dried. The page does not move in the draftless air. A pencil rests in the spine. No one adds another line. A thermos stands at the far end of the journal table. Its cup lid is screwed on tight. The brushed steel looks soft in the light. Near the midpoint of the veranda, a long bench faces the crater. Its slats are older than the chairs near the entrance. One slat has bowed a little at the center. No weight presses it down tonight. No coat has been left across it. It waits in the cold. Below the bench, a pair of boot prints ends in dry white dust. The last steps stop there. No fresh print continues beyond them. At the far rail, a snow gauge rises from a bracket. Thin marks run up the side. The red line sits low for this time of year. A small clipboard hangs beneath it in a clear sleeve. Yesterday's reading is still there. No new number has been written. Along the ceiling, dark hooks hold rolled canvas windscreens. The straps remain fastened around each roll. None of the screens has been lowered. That leaves the veranda open to the night. Cold air moves along the boards. The lodge answers with its steady warmth behind the doors. A service chime panel hangs near room 6. Each button is labeled in black. None of them glows. The panel cover has one hairline crack in the corner. It does not spread. It only catches a narrow line of light. Across the crater, a distant snowfield takes the moon more clearly. That one patch appears brighter than the rest. Then cloud shadow softens it. The lake below remains almost black. Only the earlier stripe of light persists. It lies close to the far shore now. No bird crosses it. No ripple reaches it. The water keeps its calm surface whole. From an open transom above one room door, faint piano music can be heard. Only a little of it. Only one slow phrase. Then the sound ends. Nothing follows. The hallway behind the door returns to silence. A cedar chest rests near the stair to the lower path. Extra blankets are folded inside. The lid is shut. On top of the chest, a framed menu from another decade leans against the wall. Roast trout, berry pie, hot cocoa, The paper has yellowed slightly. The frame glass holds one reflection from the lamp above. The menu remains easy to read. At the lower path stair, a chain blocks the first step. A sign on the chain reads, "Closed at night." The sign hangs straight. Past the chain, the stair falls into darker pines. Needles cover the edges of the steps. No flashlight comes up from below. Near the sign, a broom made from bundled twigs stands in a crock. Its handle is polished by use. The twigs flare at the base. A small tin scoop hangs from the crock handle. It is used for sand in icy weather. The scoop stays empty tonight. At the last room on the east wing, a curtain has been left slightly open. The lamp inside is off. Moonlight reaches the foot of the bed and stops. A glass water pitcher stands on the night table. Its surface catches a pale edge. The glass remains still. The veranda floor changes sound near this room. One board has a deeper tone under the cold. No step presses it into a creak. A moth would have reached these lamps in summer. Now only winter air moves here. It moves softly and without shape. The old lodge does not need more than this. A few warm windows, a line of lamps, a lake holding the dark below. Nothing begins in the east wing. Nothing asks to be answered. The veranda continues above the crater in the same quiet state. Near the last lamp, a ceramic bowl holds wrapped peppermints. The wrappers show red twists at both ends. None of them has been taken. The bowl remains centered. A pale gray begins over the crater. The veranda does not lose its night at once. The lamps along the wall still hold the warmer light. The chairs near the main doors remain just as they were. The folded blanket stays on one backrest. The ashtray stays centered on the iron table. Moonlight fades slowly from the top rail. The paint looks flatter there now. The worn corners remain white. Below the railing, the lake takes a little more shape. The dark surface broadens. The thin line of reflected light begins to weaken. Wizard Island is clearer now. Its cone rises from the water in a dark, solid form. The shoreline around it remains hidden. At the entrance, the two lanterns burn unchanged. Their fogged glass glows honey-colored. No moth circles them in this season. The notice board beside the doors still shows the sunrise hour. The chalk letters remain crisp. No second note is pinned beneath them. The rim trail map under plastic has gathered one faint patch of glare. It shifts slightly as the gray outside grows brighter. Then it settles near the lower corner. The brass handles on the doors look cooler now. Their warmth belongs to the lamps and the lobby behind them. The metal keeps only a soft shine. Through the glass, the lodge lobby shows more detail. A carpet border appears near the stone hearth. The binoculars on the ledge are easier to see. The guidebook beside them still stands upright. Its faded blue spine catches a line of light. The title remains small and exact. At the base of the doors, the old snow dust on the mat has not changed. The pale marks keep their shapes. No new boot print crosses them. The rocking chairs remain still. One scratch on the nearest arm is clearer in the gray. It runs straight and ends near the curve. The bench swing at the far end keeps its quiet place. Its seat has taken a little dew at the edge. The chains hang perfectly down. Near the swing, the bare stems in the planter box are silvered by morning. The soil looks darker than before. No drop falls from the stems. The heater hum beneath the boards continues without pause. It meets the colder air and does not change. The floor keeps the same mild warmth near the doors. At the tin cup below the roof seam, another drop arrives. One sound. Then the metal is quiet again. Nothing answers it. The bell remains still. The rope knot holds. A small drift of cloud passes over the brightening sky. The far snow patches on the rim lose their sharpness. The crater keeps its wide, subdued look. At the mounted viewing scope, the eyepiece cap remains closed. The body of the scope takes on a flatter silver. No hand turns it toward the island. The enamel "Quiet Hours" sign keeps its blue letters. Its chipped corners look whiter in the dawn. The sign asks for nothing more than silence. At the east wing, the guest journal still lies open on the table. The earlier line about snow on the lake remains the last line. The pencil stays tucked in the spine. Along the rail, the snow gauge keeps the same red line. Yesterday's reading still hangs beneath it. No fresh number has been added. The bench in the east wing continues to face the lake. The bowed slat at the center remains slight. No coat lies across it. Below that bench, the last boot prints still end in white dust. Nothing carries them farther. The boards beyond remain clean. At the lower stair, the night closure sign still hangs from its chain. The first step below it is pale with settled needles. No early walker waits there. The twig broom in the crock remains upright. The tin scoop on the handle stays empty. The red ice scraper near the entrance still leans in its bracket. Near the final room of the east wing, the curtain left slightly open has not shifted. Inside, the lamp remains off. The glass pitcher on the night table catches one pale line. No room latch clicks. No curtain ring slides. The guest wing keeps its sleep. Back at the center of the veranda, the crater now holds more of its shape. The lake is still dark, but not as dark as before. The island and the rim stand apart at last. Nothing begins with that change. No birds start calling. No door opens behind the glass. The old lodge simply moves from one quiet state to another. Night thinning. Warm lamps still on. Cold boards above deep water. Soon the sunrise hour on the notice board will matter. Soon someone may stand at the railing with coffee. Soon the first room door may open to the cold. But not now. Not in this slow, gray interval. the veranda still belongs to stillness. It keeps the empty chairs and the folded blanket. It keeps the bell with its tied rope. It keeps the black lake below and the old lodge behind it. The heater hum remains low. The cup below the roof seam remains waiting. The scope remains pointed over the crater. Everything stays ready for morning. Everything stays calm. The old veranda holds above Crater Lake until the day arrives. The rail stays cold. The air stays clear. Day waits. The cafe lights stay on after the museum closes. Marble halls lie quiet beyond the glass. Rain has darkened the steps outside. No one is coming down for coffee now. The room is small compared to the atrium, warm compared to the stone, still carrying the shape of the day. Chairs are turned upside down on most of the tables. Black legs point upward. Round seats catch a little gold from the counter lamps. One table near the window is different. Its chairs are still on the floor. A folded museum brochure rests there beside a sugar jar. No one cleared that table completely. The cafe kept it as it was left. That makes the room feel real. The brochure shows a painting on the front. Dark water, a pale sky, a ship near the edge. The colors are hard to see in this light. Only the shape of the picture remains. The paper has softened at one corner from damp air. At the counter, 2 pastry domes sit empty. A few crumbs remain on a tray beneath one of them. Not many, just enough to show that the day happened here. Behind the glass, the espresso machine is dark. A clean towel hangs over one handle. It has dried into a stiff fold. Milk pitchers rest upside down on a rubber mat. Their bases catch the lamp once, then the shine falls away. A chalkboard menu remains above the bar. Espresso, soup, tea. The word scone is partly rubbed out at the edge. The board does not need fixing tonight. It only hangs there over the quiet counter, a leftover sign from busier hours. At the register, the screen is black. A card reader stands beside it with its cable tucked behind the base. A little square of receipt paper shows at the printer slot. It does not feed forward. It does not need to. The machine is done for the night. The museum begins just beyond the cafe rail. Tall marble floor, stone columns, a wide stair rising toward darker rooms. From the cafe, the hall looks larger than it did during the day. Empty space does that. So does evening light. A security desk lamp glows far across the atrium. It is too distant to warm anything here. It only proves the building is still awake in some quiet way. Near the window, the glass holds faint reflections of the counter. Cups, a lamp, the top edge of the pastry case. Behind the reflections, Boston stays wet and dark. Streetlights sit in rain on the pavement. A cab passes once at the far curb. Its color moves over the glass and is gone. The cafe returns to itself. A shelf near the back wall holds stacked cups and saucers. One cup has been turned slightly away from the others. The handle points toward the wall. That small change makes the whole shelf feel human. Not arranged, only finished and left. Beside the cups, tea tins stand in a row. Earl Grey, mint, chamomile. The labels are cream-colored and plain. A spoon tray sits beneath them. Several spoons are lined up well. One rests across the others at an angle. The marble floor of the museum shines beyond the cafe boundary. Inside the cafe, the tile is darker and warmer. A narrow brass strip between the two catches the light. The strip runs straight across the opening, like the line between one mood and another. Stone hall and cafe, echo and cloth, distance and closeness. At the side window, rainwater gathers in the old frame and slips down. The sound does not reach the room, only the sight of it. A coat hook near the service door is empty now. During the day, an apron might hang there. Tonight there is only the shape of the hook against pale wall paint. A small wall clock sits above the service shelf. The hands move. The room does not respond. The day is over here. That much is clear from the chairs, the dark machine, the empty domes, the folded towel. But the cafe does not feel shut down. It feels paused, as if the first cup tomorrow is already somewhere inside it. Still invisible, still hours away. At the nearest chair, one rubber foot has worn pale from the tile. A tiny arc of scuff marks bends under it. The marks stay where they are. At the far end of the counter, a glass jar holds wrapped biscotti. Only 3 remain. They lean against one another in quiet angles. The lid is closed. The paper wrappers catch a little lamplight, then go dull again. Beyond the rail, the museum hall keeps its marble silence. Inside the cafe, a cooler hums under the counter. Low, even, forgettable. The room does not ask for anything. Part 2. The service door to back opens to a narrow prep room. It is closed now. A strip of light shows under it. Not much, just enough to make the floor tile near the threshold look warmer. A bus tub sits by the door. Inside it, a stack of plates leans against a stainless wall. A spoon lies across the top plate, not fully washed in appearance, only set aside. The room does not mind. It holds unfinished things gently. On the side counter, a breadboard stands on edge to dry. Knife marks cross it in pale lines. A damp cloth is folded beside the sink. One corner of the cloth hangs over the steel lip. It has darkened with water. It stays where it slipped. The sink is empty now. No tap runs. Only a faint ring shows where foam had dried and been wiped away. Above it, a metal shelf holds syrups and stacked paper cups. Hazelnut, vanilla, caramel. The labels are small and practical. One bottle is lower than the others. Not empty, just used more often. The prep room has a different sound from the cafe. Less open, more tucked away. A small refrigerator hums beneath the counter. A vent clicks once. Then everything returns to that soft kitchen quiet. Back in the main room, the tables keep their turned chairs. The one uncleared table still holds its brochure and sugar jar. The brochure has shifted by almost nothing. Maybe from air, maybe from the day settling out of the room. The museum beyond the rail remains dim and wide. A statue pedestal stands in the hall, though the sculpture itself is out of sight from here. Only the base is visible. White stone, sharp edges, one side in shadow. That is enough to make the hall feel larger than the cafe again. At the pastry counter, a narrow glass shelf holds the ghost of a display. Labels remain in little metal stands. Blueberry muffin, lemon bar, quiche. No pastry sits behind them now. Only the names remain. The names feel calm without the things they describe, like signs after an event has already passed. A small bell near the register has been turned sideways. Its chrome top reflects the lamp and part of the menu board. It never rings tonight. At the cafe entrance, the brass strip across the floor takes a longer line of light now. It reaches from one tile seam to another and stops. No shoe crosses it. One brochure rack near the museum side still holds exhibition cards. The top card shows a marble bust in profile. Rain from outside has curled the very edge of the paper. Not enough to ruin it, only enough to make it soft. Far out in the hall, a mop bucket stands near a column, yellow against gray-white marble. Its presence makes the whole building feel recently tended, not abandoned. The same is true of the cafe. A towel left to dry. A spoon not put away quite right. 3 biscotti in a glass jar. Nothing perfect, nothing neglected, only closed. A framed print hangs near the back table. It shows the museum in winter from the outside. Steps under snow, flags stiff in cold wind. The cafe windows bright behind the glass doors. Tonight there is only rain, no snow, no flags visible from here. Yet the print belongs. A napkin dispenser near the print has one napkin pushed farther out than the others. The edge makes a white square in the dim room. Too small to matter, still visible. At the cooler door, a magnet holds a delivery note. The paper lists milk, oranges, paper lids. The handwriting below says Friday. No one removes the note tonight. It stays under the magnet and waits for morning. A cup rack hangs above the espresso machine. The cups rest upside down. Their white bottoms make a soft row under the shelf. One cup has a hairline stain where coffee once dried and was washed away. The mark is pale and permanent. It does not hurt the cup. It makes it believable. Beyond the glass, Boston keeps raining. Streetlight, headlight, wet stone. Then darkness again. The city feels far from the cafe, even though it is only outside the museum doors. That is what marble and height can do. They turn the world quieter. They hold it away from the tables and the counter and the last crumbs on the tray. A chair foot touches the tile with a very small shift as the building settles. Not movement, really. Only weight remembering where it rests. Then the room is still again. At the prep room threshold, the strip of light remains. The tub remains. The folded cloth remains damp at one edge. The cafe does not need to be finished any further tonight. The work that matters has already been done. The room has entered that other state now. Not open, not abandoned, simply at rest beside the marble halls. Part 3. Morning has not reached the museum yet. Still, the darkness has thinned. The cafe shows more of itself now. The chairs on the tables look less like shapes and more like chairs. The brochure at the window table shows a little more blue in the printed sea. The sugar jar is clearer at the rim. Nothing has changed. Only the light has. At the counter, the empty pastry domes hold weaker reflections. The crumbs on the tray below one of them are easier to see now. A little crescent near the edge. Two darker crumbs near the label stand. The labels remain where they were. Blueberry muffin, lemon bar, quiche. Small names waiting for things that are not there. The espresso machine stays dark. The towel on its handle keeps the same dry fold. The milk pitchers remain upside down on the mat. One drop of old water has dried under the lip of the nearest pitcher. Morning light finds it, then leaves it plain again. The museum hall beyond the rail is beginning to gather shape. The marble floor is less silver now. The column bases are clearer. The far security lamp matters less. A staircase rises into dim upper galleries. No footsteps sound on it. No voice slips down into the cafe. The building is awake only in the smallest ways. A vent hum. A fridge under the counter. A faint settling sound from stone somewhere in the hall. The sound comes once, then the silence becomes whole again. At the uncleared table, the brochure has not moved farther. The curled corner still lifts. The sugar jar still holds little white packets in a crowded fan. One packet leans against the glass. It has a bent edge. No one straightens it. The chair there has been left slightly away from the table. less than an inch, enough to show that someone stood up from it and never pushed it back in. That tiny gap makes the table feel more human than anything else in the room. The framed winter print by the back wall is clearer now. Snow on the steps, pale sky, a lit doorway. The print holds another season entirely. Still, it belongs in this wet, quiet morning. At the prep room door, the line of light is unchanged. The bus tub is unchanged. The spoon still lies across the top plate. The folded cloth still darkens at one corner. The sink remains empty. A clean steel surface waits under the shelf. The syrup bottles stand in a simple row: hazelnut, vanilla, caramel. The lower bottle is still lower than the others. Nothing here is trying to be beautiful. That is why the room works. A place like this is calm because it has already been used, because hands have set things down, because someone forgot one detail and left another just right. At the cup shelf, the same white bottoms line the air above the machine. The pale coffee mark on one cup remains. The row is tidy, but not perfect. The bell by the register still rests on its side. Its curve now reflects more of the counter edge and less of the lamp. The change is slight. It matters only because nothing else is moving. Far outside, a first early truck rolls through the rain. The sound does not enter clearly. It reaches the hall as a low, passing softness. Then the museum keeps its distance from the street again. That distance is part of the cafe too. Marble, doors, echo, weather, city. All of it reduced before it reaches the tables. At the brochure rack, the exhibition cards remain stacked. The top one with the marble bust has kept its slight curl. The bust looks away from the cafe and into the dim hall. Near the cooler, the delivery note still hangs under the magnet. Milk, oranges, paper lids, Friday written beneath in dark pen. The paper does not flutter. The cooler hum stays low and regular. The note waits where it was pinned. The biscotti jar still holds 3. One wrapper has loosened near the end. The cookie inside remains straight and pale under the glass. At the entrance strip, the brass line across the floor is duller now. Morning has taken some warmth from the lamps. The light is flatter. The room remains kind. Soon the first chair will be turned down. Soon cups will be lifted from the rack. Soon the chalkboard will matter again. Not yet. For now, the cafe stays in this last, quiet hour beside the marble halls. Closed cases, dim lamps, a brochure left on a table, rain outside the museum doors. Nothing opens yet. Nothing needs to be sold. The room is already enough. At the back, a small wall clock keeps moving over the prep door. The hands are plain black. No one checks them. The museum keeps its height. The cafe keeps its warmth. Between This small room waits for morning without asking for it.